Hey everyone, Flo from OFTWOLANDS here, and today we're going to talk about the DZO VESPID retro primes. So two of my latest documentaries were shot using these lenses, so in this video I want to talk about what I like and don't like about these lenses, my experience shooting with them, and whether or not I would recommend them. And as always, before I start, be sure to subscribe to see more videos like this one, and let's get into it. This video is sponsored by FilmConvert. So last year I directed and filmed two short documentaries with filmmaker friends, one about cycling and one about a blacksmith. And 90% of these projects were shot using the retro primes. And just so you know, by the way, these are not my lenses, I just have them on loan from DZO. Originally, I wanted to shoot both documentaries just with the DZO picto zooms that I had at the time, but in a pre-production phase of the cycling documentary, I chatted with the DP, Alex Botton, and we quickly realized that if we wanted to put everything on our side to create the best images possible, we had to go with primes. So I asked DZO directly if they could lend us a few primes alongside the picto zooms, and they were really happy to help, and they sent us 6 VESPID retros. At the start I was just asking for the regular VESPID lenses because I had seen some beautiful stuff and I was keen to try them out, but as soon as I knew that the VESPID retros were available, then we jumped on the opportunity. There was something special about filming a 90-year-old cycling with vintage-like glass, and I think it was a perfect match and it really suited the project. As you can imagine, compared to filming with zooms, filming with prime made both projects harder to film and more time consuming, but in the end it was worth it. As I just mentioned, I mainly use these lenses to shoot my two documentaries. So the first one, the cycling documentary, was shot across 5 days, and it included a bunch of different scenes from outdoors to indoors with various lighting setups and conditions. The blacksmith, on the other hand, was a single day shoot, and we shot basically everything indoor apart from a few scenes, and everything was shot in near total darkness or with very challenging lighting conditions. And by the way, feel free to watch both videos, I'll link them below. In terms of cameras, we used the Blackmagic Pocket 6K regular and the 6K Pro for both of these projects. And I also used these lenses in a handheld / run and gun style, but also with fully rigged setups for longer scenes. And as always, you can find all the gear in the description below. And now let's get into the lenses. So my kit consists of 6 lenses: the 25mm, the 35mm, the 50, the 75, the 100, and a 125mm, and you can also get a 16mm. The lenses that I have are all T2.1 and they're all manual lenses. They cover full frame sensors and the image circle is 46.5. You can get these lenses in both PL and EF, and I got mine in PL at first, but I changed 5 of them to EF mounts so I could use them on the 6K and the 6K Pro. These lenses are also very well made and feel extremely sturdy. And they also look beautiful in my opinion, and they do really stand out. In terms of weight, they're roughly between 700 and 900 grams depending on the lens. And for size, here's one of them compared to the Canon 16-35 and one Meiki S35. At the front there's a 77mm filter thread and the front diameter is 80mm. And the markings on the side are both in meters and feet. So on DZO's website, these are marketed as vintage look with modern composition, and it's exactly how they feel and look. There's a special coating that really gives that retro aesthetic. And if I'm correct, and if it's still the case, I think you can only get these lenses as a full set and not individual lenses. And in terms of price, they retail at the moment on BH for $19,000 for the set of 7 lenses with the case. Now let's talk about the things that I like about these lenses, but before that, here's a quick word about today's sponsor, FilmConvert. Color grading really played a huge part on both of these projects. I've been using FilmConvert for so many years now for pretty much all my work, from documentaries to commercial to YouTube and travel content. And I've talked about it on the channel many times before, but essentially FilmConvert enables you to add film color and grain to your videos. They have a selection of film stocks to choose from, and they have also added Cine on log versions so you can dial the contrast and saturation of the stocks. You also have real film grain, and they also now even have a halation add-on. All the footage you have seen from these documentaries was graded using FilmConvert. And even though these are very different in terms of the atmosphere and the subject, they still both have the same organic feel and aesthetic. For these docos and for most of my work, I used the stock 5207. The blacksmith one was quite challenging to grade, and I've used a lot more grain, and I also played around with color contrast, adding a lot more colder tones in the shadows and warmer tones in the highlights from the blade and the fire. I really think that both of these documentaries are the best grades I've ever done. If you want to know more about FilmConvert, I made a dedicated video where I discuss my color grading process, so feel free to check it out. And don't forget to use the link in the description to get 10% off. First of all is the image, or should I say the look. These lenses really have a distinct look and feel. They have really strong flares and loads of character. And this is why you get these lenses, to get that retro and vintage look. Aside from that, they're quite sharp and they still manage to be clean enough for general purposes, especially when you control them using a matte box, for example. Next is the shooting experience. These lenses are great to use. For both these documentaries, we use them every day for hours and hours. The rings are super smooth and precise with the right amount of rotation and resistance. And I found them to be equally great to use with run and gun setups because of their weight and size with just a body and a lens, but also great when fully rigged up. And being Cine lenses, they're pretty much the same size with the same gear position, which made it very easy to swap lenses during the shoot. Next is full frame. So having full frame lenses means you can actually use them on full frame sensor cameras or Super 35 cameras like we used on these documentaries. I still haven't used them on a new Blackmagic 6K full frame, but I intend to if I get the chance. Then we have the aperture. So these lenses are all t2.1, which is fast enough to shoot in low light and also for interviews. Both the cycling documentary and the blacksmith one was shot pretty much wide open the whole time, or around t2.8. Another thing that I want to talk about is consistency. Consistency across the set is when you also see the value in lenses. So for example, with more affordable lenses, you can see a slightly different change in color contrast or cast. But with these ones, there's absolutely no difference between the different focal lengths. So for example, for both documentaries, we kept changing lenses like multiple times throughout the day. It never altered the look and the feel of the image, which is extremely important. So next we have the build quality. These are extremely well made and feel very, very sturdy and are quite heavy for the size, but in a good way. They feel expensive and they should. Next we have the look. I know this is very subjective, but I really like the look of these lenses. I think they look amazing and it really sets them apart from other lenses. They really do have that mix of old and new. And lastly, we have the 77mm front thread. I really love lenses with that thread because it means that I can either use small and lightweight VNDs or a matte box, or actually use both at the same time like we did on a cycling documentary. Now let's talk about the things that I don't really like about these lenses. To be honest, there's not that much that I don't like, and the fact that I shot both these projects that are my favorite with them really shows that I enjoy the retros. But there are a couple of things that I want to mention. First of all, the flares and glow. So yes, of course, these lenses are made to flare and have a glow. They really want to give you that vintage look you're after, and that's why you got them in the first place. But sometimes I think it's a little bit too much and a bit intense, and it can actually take the viewer out of the story. For the cycling documentary, for example, we decided to tame the flares for most of the shoot and only let them happen for a few scenes, and it did work on the scenes. Before some shots and sequences, it was actually too much and a bit too distracting, so we made sure to use a matte box or to angle the lights and the lenses differently. Here are a few examples when we were testing or not controlling the flares. And the other thing is just a tiny detail and doesn't really matter, but the caps on these lenses, which are very well made, come off too easily in my opinion, so it made it a little bit tricky sometimes to get the lenses out of the case depending on the focal length. So would I recommend these lenses? 100% yes, I would recommend the DZOFILM VESPID Retro Primes. That is, if you can either afford to buy the whole set or find a way to rent them out. If you do and can, they're really worth it. The image is beautiful, the shooting experience is great, and it's quite rare when you get the vintage look and character in a modern design. I think that for some projects and situations, this is really the best of both worlds. That's it for me for today, guys. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider subscribing. And of course, thanks again to DZOFILM for providing these lenses. I really appreciate it. Also, let me know if you've got any more questions. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Also, feel free to check out my 2 ebooks, Freelance Documentary Filmmaking and Travel Cinematography, where you can find a streamlined but comprehensive overview from pre-production all the way to marketing, built on years of my own experience shooting short documentaries and travel videos around the world. And if you are interested, I'm also doing filmmaking mentoring sessions when you can ask me anything about a wide variety of topics.